Komi Republic, snow falls in the middle of autumn and sometimes remains on the ground until the very beginning of the summer. The deep snow drifts make these parts impenetrable for vehicles, but people have lived here for centuries and know how to make aids and devices that will allow them not only to move around here, they almost fly around the hills and plains in these parts. From early childhood, when they've barely learned to stand, they get on their skis. The Komi Republic is famed for its sportsmen and skiers. For decades, they've been regularly supplying racers for the Russian team. Among them are repeat winners of World Championships and Olympic Games. How do you become the finest skier on the planet? To find out the secrets of success, it's best to head for one of the competitions that's regularly held in the Komi Republic. The main skiing venue here is the Raisa Smetanina Republican Complex. Here you can get to know legendary stars of international sport, watch some thrilling competitions and, if you want, give skiing a try. The Raisa Smetanina Republican Complex is located in the town of Vilgord, not far from the Komi Republic's capital, Syktyvkar. The easiest option to reach Syktyvkar from Moscow is to fly by plane. It's a journey of 1,400 kilometers and takes an hour and 40 minutes. Then it's just 7 kilometers from Syktyvkar to the town of Vilgord. You can make that journey by bus or by car. It takes just 15 minutes. The Raisa Smetanina Republican Complex is one of the most modern and best equipped in Russia. Every year, 7 or 8 Republican-level competitions are held here, as well as 5 or 6 championships of a federal level. Skiing races for the Raisa Smetanina awards or prizes are highlights within those competitions, however. Only youngsters take part in them, students from children's and youth sports schools from across Russia. People want to come and see the Komi Republic and to take part. This really does rank as the top championship in Russia. 165 sports schools from 44 different regions take part. That's almost the biggest championship in Russia. Straight after the ceremonial opening of the championship, the sportsmen go out to the starting line. The young boys and girls compete in individual races, classic-style skiing over distances of 3 to 5 kilometers. The racer with the best time wins. Electronic control of the finish allows the time to be measured to the 100th of a second, and that level of accuracy really is needed. Sometimes over 20 races can finish within a single second of each other, so the tension is maintained right through to the very last moment. Boys and girls aged 15 to 16 take part in the competitions for the Raisa Smetanina prizes. They're too young at that age to compete for the highest prizes in cross-country skiing. In the history of the sport, the Olympics has never been won by junior skiers. But at this age, however, the potential of the future champions can already be assessed. One of the main aims in the competition is to identify and select promising skiers for further training. The way a person's put together, how they ski, you can see that immediately. The movements they make, awkward, coordinated, you can immediately see that if you take a good look at the person. The way that they deal with workloads, how they recover after heavy workloads, you can see all that immediately. There's no doubt that these competitions in themselves are very important in that the children's sports schools can show what they're capable of. You can see what they have to struggle for. They can make comparisons. That's a big deal, especially for the participants. These competitions, if you can get a win here, then you'll get them in top-ranking sports. And for me, it's wonderful that these competitions for the Raisa Smetanina Prize, that they're all Russian, and that everyone comes here to take part in them. It's almost as if there's a magnet drawing them here. 629 participants. There's never been anything like it. It's a record this year. Every trainer, no doubt, thinks and senses that it's here that you get the first stage on the way to Olympic medals. The Komi Republic has given the world 3 Olympic champions in cross-country skiing. Here, they greatly revere their Olympian countrymen. The sports complex bears the name of Raisa Smetanina. The Bakur Hotel is named in honor of the village in which Vasily Rochev was born, and the Ilyich housing complex is named after the hometown of Nikolai Bazhukov. This is all deeply symbolic. All of the Olympian skiers of the Republic of Komi come from the rural depths of the region. They're the descendants of hunters and deer herders. A reminder of this is the chum tent that's set up at the stadium during the competition. I was born into the family of a deer herder, and before I went to school at the age of 7, I would travel around the tundra with my parents. We lived in a chum, and I didn't go to kindergarten. And that was our daily life. That was how my childhood was spent, in those conditions. On skis from earliest childhood, basically from when I started to walk, I'd go around the chum, skiing the whole time. When I grew up and I studied at school at the end of the 1950s, the beginning of the 60s, this was the most accessible sport in our republic, and so there were far more people skiing even than there are today. There were no children's sports schools, but on the other hand, all the children knew how to ski, and all around every village and homestead the tracks have been laid out. In the north, people have to do far more to live than people living, say, in the south. In providing for life in a harsh climate, in the north, it's not only through hard work that people can survive. Perhaps this factor passes into the character and hard-working nature of the people in the squad here. When they're coping with serious loads, you never say, I can do that, but then I won't be able to ski. No, they say they have to do that much, then they have to do that much. In order to become champion, you have to start training from a very young age. In the rural regions of the Republic of Komi, skiing and walking in snowshoes is the natural way to get around, known by every child. The Komi people have reared deer and hunted since time immemorial, and their skill in skiing goes back just as far. The archaeological digs in the Knyazhposky region of the Republic of Komi have revealed a fascinating find, a fragment of a pine ski, perhaps the most ancient in the world. In the National Museum of the Republic of Komi, there's an exhibit that has become a global sensation. It's a piece of an ancient ski, its front section decorated with an elk's head. It was found in peat bog digs in the Republic of Komi. When scientists carried out an analysis, they were surprised by the results. The find was about 8,000 years old. That's twice as old as the Egyptian pyramids. The place where the ancient ski was found, close to Lake Sindor, is linked to an old legend of the Komi people about the hunter Irkap. It was in these parts that the hunter sought a magical tree that, according to the prophecy of a spirit, would bring happiness. The hunter cut some skis out of the tree, and the skis themselves had magical powers, carrying him forward of their own accord. You just had to think about what direction you wanted to head off in, and off you'd go. And there was no one faster than Irkap. No animal could escape him. A local wizard told Irkap, however, that he would only become the finest hunter if he could capture the heavenly blue deer. One day, Irkap saw this deer and began chasing after it. The deer made a big jump, however, and flew off into the air. The hunter flew after it. Only by the distant Ural mountain range did Irkap catch the heavenly deer. The deer did a somersault, however, and turned into a young beauty that you simply couldn't take your eyes off. Irkap realized that the prophecy had come true. He'd found happiness, and that's how the magical skis on which you could fly as well as ski had served him. Today in the Republic of Komi, racing on hunting skis is becoming a popular sport. One such competition is held in the village of Bolshelug. The The village of Bolshalug is located 90 kilometers from the capital of the Komi Republic, Syktyvkar. You can get here by bus or by car. It's a journey of about 1 hour and 15 minutes. Competitions on traditional hunting skis in the village of Bolshalug attract sportsmen from across the entire region, and they've even been awarded Republican status. The ceremonial opening is attended by guests from the capital and top officials from the local administration. This sporting celebration, however, appeared thanks to the initiative of a humble rural trainer, Afanasy Gabov. He's the irreplaceable organizer and chief judge for the competition. The whole village supports his initiative, however, so even the formal opening is held informally, with the singing and traditional rites and customs of the Komi people. In the village of Bolshalug, anyone who wants to can race. The main condition is that you have a pair of traditional Komi skis called lyampas or lızas. Competitors are allowed to take part whether they're using lızas or lyampas. You can immediately see how these skis differ from one another. Lızas are covered in deer fur, while lyampas are normal smooth wooden skis. Lızas are regarded as being better when going uphill because they won't slide backwards, while lyamas are generally faster. Let's see which skis turn out to be the winners at this particular competition. Before the racing got started, Olympic champion and keen hunter Mikhail Bazhukov told us about the advantages of hunting skis. They're always going to have an advantage on fresh snow. There's some fresh snow over there, those clearings say, where no skis have been yet. For the most part, they're for hunters and hunters who are always taking routes that haven't been skied yet. The hunter doesn't know where the animal is going to lead him. That's why they're broad, and they always slide only in one direction. And they're firm in the other direction. And the fact that they stand firm, even in classic skiing, is more important than the fact that they slide. I'll explain why. Because you always climb more than you descend. You slide down and that's it, but it always takes longer to ascend. That's why it's always more important in skiing races, even today, that the skis don't slide backwards. So you're saying that these skis are unsurpassed out in the wilds on virgin snow? Of course. Before the start, an old Komi rite is held for the competitors, whereby the women see their husbands off hunting. Then the skiers wrap a red thread around their waists. It's a charm to ward off the dangers that hunters might face in the forests. Only then is the starting signal given. In the Komi Republic, ski racing is immensely popular. The competitions are held not only on sports skis, they're also held on traditional hunting skis, lızas and lyampas. It's these competitions that draw sportsmen from across the Republic to the races in the village of Bolshalug. The racetrack starts by the village school, weaves through the village, and then from a high hill the skiers fly out onto the virgin snow. That's where the bulk of the route lies. The route isn't long, it's about a couple of kilometers in all, but it's tricky going. Before the very finish, when victory appears to be within your grasp, the competitors must make a very steep ascent, and that takes their last remaining strength out of them. It's on this section that those hunting skis covered in deerskin provide a real advantage. One of the obligatory elements in competitors' clothing is the traditional waistcoat of the Komi hunters, the laz. The sportsmen also don't have the right to use normal ski sticks. Instead, they can use a long hunting staff, a quoybed. Competitors told us about the real purpose of these objects. Tell me about the equipment that you're wearing at the moment. Here, for example, I've got the lars of a real hunter on. So you can see here there's a pocket in which you can keep rope hooks for everything, for hares, for example. Then we've got a bag for the hunter's food so that it doesn't get cold. This keeps it close to the body. Behind there's a holder for an axe. The hunter would hang an axe there. So everything's been thought through. Yes, that's right. All of the instruments. To stop the hunter getting wet, you can see that the material's been made especially from leather, and it's smooth so that the dew or any water that falls on him flows off. And so here you can see that it's a real koi bed. What was the koi bed for? So that he could check a trap if the snow was blocking up the track, so that you can check if it's in place. So the upper side, the spade section, is there to sprinkle the snow on, to cover it over, so that the animal won't see it and gets caught in it. The hunter mustn't approach it. He can't get too close to it or the hair won't go into the loop, so that he doesn't leave any tracks or scent. Absolutely. But the koi bed was probably also used as a staff, right? Yes, to give you a push when you're walking up a hill. The races on lızahs and lampas aren't being held in the village of Bolshenluk for the first time. Here, there are recognized favorites and repeat victors. But for many of the inhabitants, it's not winning that's important, it's the thrill of participating in a sporting celebration. Young and old take to their skis for the competition, and the winners can expect valuable prizes. But there are no losers here. Everyone gets a hefty dose of cheerfulness and good health, and the chance to demonstrate their skills on the traditional skis of the Komi people. The hunter's skis used in the races for the most part are homemade. Any self-respecting Komi hunter should be able to make himself a good pair of skis. Nevertheless, in each village there's a recognized master craftsman who knows all the subtleties of this ancient art. One such master craftsman is Anatoly Popov from the village of Nivsher in the Kortykhorovsky region. He agreed to share his secrets with us. We're heading off into the forest to chop down some wood to be turned into skis. Usually, fir tree wood is used for this. It's a fairly strong wood, whilst also being fairly elastic. It doesn't get damp, and skis made out of it slide in just the right way. According to the ancient beliefs of the Komi people, every person in the forest has his or her own magical tree. In Komi, it's called the aspu. It's a kind of double of the human. It's very hard to find your tree, but if you manage it, it will definitely bring you luck. The main thing is to make out of that tree something that you need more than anything else, like a pair of skis. We didn't have to look for long because the local forestry commission allotted us this fir tree. In order to make skis, you take a straight-grained tree with the branches stripped off at the part of the trunk that's going to be used. The wood is prepared at a certain time of the year, during the winter. Does it make any difference at what time the wood is chosen in the forest? You have to do it when it's a full moon. Why? Because then it will be light, and the skis will be light. Why do trees get lighter during a full moon? Well, in the old days, they always used to select the wood like that, for building houses too, so that it would be light and wouldn't rot. The tree, once chopped down, isn't sawn up. That means its fibers remain intact. Instead, it's split along the grain. That significantly increases the strength of the skis that are being made. I'm guessing that if a quarter of a piece makes one ski, then we're going to get 4 skis, right? This half isn't suitable. Really? Why not? Because there are red rings. This wood, when it's dried out, will deform. So when it's dried out, the skis will twist and deform. Yes, that means that of the whole piece, only the northern half is suitable. The prepared blocks are worked on with an axe, after which they're dried out and planed down to the shape and size needed. The broader the ski, the shorter. That means that the pressure the skier exerts on the snow remains unchanged, amounting to 30 grams per square centimetre. The ski's profile is almost the same across the whole length. There's just a slight thickening under the feet. That's the load-bearing area. The ends of the hunter's skis aren't usually cut off, they're curved. This is one of the most important stages in the manufacturing of the skis. In order to make the wood elastic, it's steamed in hot water. The drier and harder the wood, the more difficult it is to steam. It's best to carry out this process in a tank of water that's put on a low flame. Usually the steaming of the wood is done in the village banya or sauna. The skis are bent with the aid of a special press. It has to be done with caution. If the wood bends unevenly or it's about to break, that means that it hasn't been steamed enough. Following the bending of the ends, the skis are dried in a warm village stove. They should be in the press for at least 5 to 6 days until they've fully dried out. Then the final working of the skis is done with fine tools, a knife, a plane and sandpaper. The angle of the tapering of the skis, is it very precise or is it done each time by eye? No, there's a template. Ah, you have a template. Yes. It's so that all the skis will be identical. Yes. Beautiful and convenient. When we've finished working the wood, the craftsman starts work on the fur covering. The piece of fur is first soaked in hot water to make it stretch better. Then the master sews it using a capron thread. For hunting skis, fur from the lower legs of deer or elks is always used. It's got just the right characteristics for skiing. Fur on the work surface, that's the ideal covering. Yes, even new fresh snow won't get stuck to it. Really? When the fur covering is ready, we just have to stick it onto the wooden base. Hot pine resin is used as a glue. It's applied in an even, thin layer onto the ski. The fur isn't simply placed on the ski, it's stretched across it. The fur is fixed in place with capron threads and is then fixed in place with boot nails. The fur is firmly held in place on the ski, but if it gets worn down over time, it can be removed and replaced with a new layer. Usually, a new piece of fur will serve a hunter well for 2 or 3 winter seasons. These skis might not appear to be very broad, and when you're walking, they dig into the snow only slightly, but to understand how essential they are in the winter, you just have to take them off. Almost up to the waist. Every locality has its secrets, its subtleties that allow the craftsman to bring the ski to a level of perfection where the skier doesn't even realize that they're wearing a ski. It's as if it's a continuation of his body. Moving around on hunting skis requires certain skills, but you can also sense the advantages of skis with fur coverings within your first few steps. And really, when you climb a hill with these skis, then there's no need to use any special techniques. I can keep the skis in parallel or set them at an angle, it doesn't matter, I won't slide back. It's a fairly unusual sensation. Tests of these hunting skis demonstrated their great characteristics in terms of getting you across the landscape here. Nevertheless, you're unlikely to achieve any great results with these skis. For speed, you're better off with lямpas. They're narrower skis that aren't covered with fur. The Komi craftsmen create different skis for different conditions, sometimes of very different constructions. These unusual skis are curved on both sides. They don't have any fur on them, and the binding is right in the middle of the ski. This is actually a very clever construction. I'm going to show you how woodcutters move about on them. In the deep forest on normal skis, it can be very difficult to turn round. There simply isn't enough space. But on these, you don't have to turn round at all. It's enough just to swap your legs round and you can immediately go backwards, like this. Komi Republic, cross-country skiing is a way of life. The local craftsmen make skis featuring incredibly varied constructions, and the locals even use them for racing. Although these competitions on lızas and lampas are very popular, they are also a debt paid to tradition. Today, even in the most distant villages, children and adults use modern plastic skis for the most part. To identify and develop sporting talents in the Komi Republic, a broad network of children's and youth sports schools has been created. The conditions used to be very simple. You came here on your skis, you laid out the skiing track and then you'd ski. Now for that you need skiing bases and a good inventory of skiing equipment. And specifically that means a good skiing track, because the track is the basis upon which you can develop. The better the ski track, the faster the speeds you can train at. It's all interconnected. As a result of actions carried out by a special Republic-wide program, many sports schools have well-equipped modern bases. One of them was recently opened in the village of Kortkeros. In the winter in the Komi Republic, the nights are long and the days are short. It gets dark at about 4 or 5 in the evening. To allow the kids to train past this time, the 2.5-kilometer-long skiing track has been fitted with lighting. It's literally a path of light to good health and record speeds. There's everything you need for sport here, but the main thing is the kids' desire to participate in cross-country skiing. Sporting development isn't just about good health. It's important that the kids from rural areas sense that they're being looked after, they're being helped, that they've got a chance to achieve results and become champions. They just have to believe in themselves and work. I don't think that everyone who has achieved some top-level results necessarily showed really great results at the very outset of their sporting career. Back at school, I'd take seconds or thirds. I wasn't always first. I know that there were girls who were stronger than me, but they probably didn't develop further. And they stopped with those achievements that they had. A person has to gradually grow, as do the loads that his or her body has to withstand. This is all taking place at the cutting edge of human knowledge, of human capabilities. Many people don't realize how much it takes. Maybe I can withstand it, maybe I can't. Who knows how much you have to take? Because to date, the answers haven't been written down in any books. Vasily Rochev learned the subtle art of developing in sport whilst withstanding extreme but bearable pressures back in his childhood under the guidance of his village school teacher, Mikhail Dorkin. When Vasily and I got to know each other a bit better, I didn't shout at him. I just told him, Vasya, you have to do it. Vasya, you have to do it. You have to stick to your schedule, leave the music out, leave the girls out, dedicate yourself to this. That was the conversation that we had, and he would always come and ask about what he had to do. There's no organ of the body, no material that could tell what kind of condition a person has. So I'd say, guys, there's no doctor and there's no trainer who knows your organism better than you do. You have to be able to distinguish between laziness and having overtrained. So I didn't just force them to ski specific set amounts. I think that was my main achievement. Without any special education or training, the sensitive and intelligent trainer managed to discover several sporting talents in his village. And this was by no means exceptional. Entire dynasties of champions appeared in the villages and rural areas as a result of trainers working there. Trainers who are real skiing enthusiasts. In 2010, a graduate from our sports school, from our Mukhtinskaya Comprehensive School, from the Children's Sports School, Batmanov, became Russian champion at 50 kilometers in the classic style. Just this year, another graduate from our Mukhtinskaya school became world champion in the relay, and along the way, as it were, took second place in the classic, winning a silver. That's our result, a result of the sports school. I think that anyone who's taken part, who's helped along the way, I think that it's a shared achievement. It's not just down to the trainer. It doesn't work like that. In the Komi Republic, there's a highly developed